Episode 2 of Kingdom Cast. My name is Mighty Fuzz Young, my co-host Anthony Graffeo, and today we have a great episode with a gentleman who has stood up against the NYPD. He chose his purpose over paycheck, his integrity over attention. Former lieutenant of the NYPD, also co-host of the Unfiltered podcast, John Macari.
Gentlemen, thanks for having me. Pleasure, honor to be here. Truly honor to be here on the second episode. I see big things ahead in the future, and I appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about you. Fuzz always talks very highly of you, the things that you've done. Obviously, you are in the right place in history. A lot of people are standing on the wrong side of history, and they're not even realizing it. And I think us three, we're kind of seeing through the fog of war that's happening. There's a lot of deception. There's a lot of psyops that are going on. And I commend you, man, for standing up for what you believe in.
Yeah, I'm surface level, dude. So, I look at stuff, and I'm like, that just doesn't make sense to me. You say something, and then when it gets put into action, it's the exact opposite of what you're saying. It bothers me. And I don't care if it's somebody that I traditionally agree with, someone that I like, or someone that I traditionally don't agree with, and someone that I don't like. I call it out, and I think that's our duty and our obligation as Americans, as Christian males, and as people who sit there and want to build a community together, want to truly evolve and make this world a better place for the next generations. I think it's something that's important to do. With that, we're obviously always going to experience some flack from that. So, it is what it is. It's just a necessary rattling of the cage.
Most definitely.
Yeah, it's honestly great to have you on, man. What you guys are doing on the Finest Unfiltered, man, it's not easy. You guys toe a line. I've been saying this for a while now. You guys toe a line to keep the men and women that do support law enforcement on, engaged at the same time, calling out the upper echelons, and you guys really just do it so well. But now we're speaking about, the federalization of the NYPD, where DC has literally said they're going to come into now states, no longer just DC now, right? We're talking about New York, we're talking about Chicago. John, what is your position on the federalization of local law enforcement?
So I never supported the federalization of police. I believe in individual rights for the states. I believe in the founding of this nation. And I do, as someone that's been taken for, I can't even tell you how much money in taxes to fund police departments where I live, both in Florida and continuously in New York. I'm sitting here and saying, well, then if our agencies are inept and our mayors are inept or they're not functioning, that means that I need to give up the founding of this nation so that you could come in and save us. And when I look at what's happening, right? You look at on the surface level, what happened. So DC, right? Throw the National Guard out there, throw the FBI out there, throw a bunch of other federal agencies out there, and they're making all these arrests. And in the moment that they're there, crime is dropping, right? And they're like, oh, Trump saved DC. So is that the plan going forward? Now we're just going to keep our streets flooded with federal agents and National Guard. Basically, looks like, to me, it looks like a complete federal takeover. And is that the plan going forward? Because as soon as they pull back from that scenario, say now they do it for a 30-day period and they pull back, what happens? Washington, right. D.C. is exactly the same. The mayor's still lying to all the people of D.C., telling them crime's down. The police department's still not functioning because the appointed leaders, by the politically appointed leaders of the mayor, are still lying, still fudging numbers, still in this self-serving role and political mission, not following public safety and not following law. So to me, what I see surface level, I see a propaganda campaign that's being set up to have people cheer on having our police departments basically be abolished and move towards a federalization of police. And I think I think anyone that doesn't see that isn't really looking at what's happening. I spoke out about this when Barack Obama wanted to do it. Why wouldn't I speak out about this when Donald Trump wanted to do it?
Because it's a hero complex. That's what it is. They see him as a hero. He's been built up so big now that anything he does, you can't question. I was a Trump supporter since 2016. I did basically everything that MAGA could do for him, right? And now that I'm seeing through this facade that it obviously was, and you question anything that this man does, you are being attacked for it. You're catching all the flack for it. But like you said, this is, if you watched any dystopian movie, if you watched anything that ever has to do with the New World Order, Alex Jones back in the early 2000s, we never, and no offense to the police, but we never wanted a police state. We never wanted this where we have National Guard, where we have the military in our streets. This is like number one rule of what we should not be having in our country, you know, is this federalization and the crime and all this stuff. Yeah, it's horrible, right? But like you said, we need to work with the police to change the system completely. Like, obviously there's some holes in the system that the police, you know, there's a lot of good ones, but there's rotten eggs in the bunch too, you know? And I think that it starts at the head all the time, right? You always got to go to the head of the snake. Whoever's running that department, the mayors, the governors, all this stuff are complicit in it too. They're like Fuzz was saying, like we were on the phone the other day. It's like they're almost allowing it to happen. I talked to him about this, and I want to run this by you. But I remember not even like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I was a troublemaker, if you want to call it that. But I lived in Jersey. I got caught with a blunt roach in my car. They pulled out guns on me. Now you got dudes that are shooting up streets and they're getting out the next day. It's almost like, is it planned this way to happen? So this federalization of the military coming into our cities to clean up crime, like, why did the police become, I don't want to say weaker, but more lenient at that, you know, like from going from a blunt roach in my car, guns drawn, to actual criminals getting let out the next day.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that falls solely at the feet of politics. What I've come to learn in my older years is that the police are just an extension of the government that they serve, right? The police are just the enforcement arm. So you're talking about a time when broken windows theory of policing was coming into effect to keep crime down, where the theory at the time was that if you attacked minor crimes, like people smoking marijuana, which was at the time illegal, like people littering in the street and peeing in the street and not homeless down in the subways. If you went after those little things, it would prevent bigger crime. Something that I believe in because I've seen it. Now, do I think that you're a criminal and you deserve to spend your life in jail? Absolutely not. You know, maybe get a summons, you know, a little slap on the wrist, you know. But there needs to be some enforcement of the rules. And what happened in the last 10 years or so is there's been a emasculation of police totally, and that's been done through legislation, you know. And so what the police are doing now is a hands-off style of policing. And honestly, it's in most cases, what I'm watching, I think they're making a great case for defund the police, because I'm like, why do we have to pay guys and girls to drive around, wear a uniform, waste gas, and then when I need help, they're nowhere to be found? Or when I defend myself, you're coming to get me because you left me on the train with this maniac, you know, and so, you know, the thing always falls at the feet of the rank and file officers on the street. But I mean, it's the people in charge. And who is it? In big blue cities, it's the mayor. The mayor is the de facto police commissioner. These police commissioners are just talking heads. And the rank and file is just following what they're told to do, whether right or wrong.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy, right? Because we've been speaking about this for a long time, John, and you've been screaming about the emasculation of the NYPD as, you know, me trying to follow the Constitution. We the people are the cure. I take that as we're giving more power to an already fat government, right? But I wasn't hearing it correctly, and both our messages kind of funneled into each other. They kind of married each other, because I was screaming about the federalization of cops, and you were saying that they were emasculate them, so they were kind of stopping them from doing their job on purpose. So we, the people of New York City, go, we need another answer, and we are now welcoming this federalization. And all we need, I always say, New York City is dressed for the occasion. We were dressed for the pandemic, with pharmacies and urgent cares on every corner, and then pandemic. And here we are, the surveillance state's up. You know, it's been my song and dance. And here we are now talking about riots and stuff like that. Do you see it that way? Do you see a linear moving towards grooming and molding to this goal of this federalization? And then I would ask you, do you believe, even if it's for a temporary time, do you think that there will be surveillance state-like changes to the NYPD?
So I think one, policing across the country, definitely starting with the NYPD, is moving towards building a surveillance state. That's one. I mean, that is just what's happening with the rise of technology. Now, I don't know if there's a devious plan behind it, or we're just not smart enough to have the forethought of what this technology is creating and how that conflicts with our nation's founding and individual rights and freedoms. I don't know that there's a master plan behind that. But I think the problem is policing is the most heavily scrutinized profession in the world, and it's the least understood. You know, when we talk about, just let's say, bail reform, right? Bail reform is the major cause behind all crime, is what, if you listen to any police expert, or you listen to Fox News, or you listen to any of that, and no one even understands it. You know, no one understands it at all. So when I was talking about bail reform, I get blamed that, oh, you want poor people in jail and you want poor people to be victimized and spend time in jail while they're waiting trial. And I'm like, no, I'm not saying that at all. I think that bail reform on its face, is a good thing. It's a good thing. Like, all right, you're poor. Anthony gets arrested for a joint. He has a warrant because he didn't pay a summons for $20, right? Do I think that Anthony needs to spend a month in jail in Rikers Island because he can't pay for bail to wait his court date? Absolutely not. But what happened is our politicians put in bail reform and said, I don't care if Anthony's a violent offender. I don't care if Anthony's out on parole. I don't care if Anthony assaulted you with a weapon. I don't care if Anthony sexually assaulted you. He's eligible for bail. He's not going to spend any time in, regardless of how many times he repeats into that. And so like we see the rise in crime happen with the implementation of bail reform. But really, is it bail reform to blame, or is it the politicians that instituted that? I mean, I said it before it even happened. I said, the minute you put this into place, crime's going to go through the roof. Crime in big blue cities is going to skyrocket anywhere where you put this type of legislation in. If you truly cared about the people and you truly cared about public safety, you would have put a well thought out plan instead of an incompetent plan. So now it's thrust upon us. You deal with it for the last 5 years. Crime skyrockets everywhere. And now what's the plan? Oh, let's bring in the federal government and lock you all down. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And you said said you don't know if it's a part of a master plan, but I don't know if you ever looked into like Palantir. You know what that is?
I know what Palantir is, yeah.
So Palantir is going to be used in this surveillance state, right? Where they're going to have like biomech systems, all of these different, like all these things that like Fuzz has showed me, like these giant black boxes that are all over New York. This is all going to be used together, right? And Palantir, they want to stop Christians. They want to stop the alt-right. Like Alex Karp, the CEO, he literally said, I have dreams at night of Christian nationalists coming and taking me and throwing me out my window. Like Palantir just made their first $1 billion. They have government funding from our military to ICE. And, you know, people are like, oh, we need this. We need to track the migrants. We need to track the crime. But it's just like the slippery slope that happened with the Patriot Act. People thought, oh, this is never going to be used against citizens. Well, guess what? It's going to be used against citizens. And by emasculating the cops and putting in this technology, they don't really need to enforce police like that anymore. If they have the military out there, if they have them doing their job for them, and they have this technology where they could just be like, okay, we have him on 6th Street right now. Boom. This is everything he's ever spent money on. This is like they have a whole entire system that's registered through who you are. So there is a master plan behind this. Like the people that are really in control of this world, we'll get deeper into that in a little bit, but they have a master plan to create the surveillance state to make sure that we're basically good boys and girls and implement a social credit system on us, just like China. Like this is their master plan. And you would never think this would happen in America, but the way that they can mask it is through criminals and migrants and this and that. It's with the whole entire, Fuzz has talked about this, the fact that we have allowed during Biden's administration and our military didn't stand up and stop the invasion at the border of
Between
military
11 million and 20 million, bro. People.
coming in. Our military didn't stop that. It's all because this is They are the greatest planners of all time, you know, not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but they believe in a new world order. They believe in all this stuff, and they will do anything possible to make it happen. So they have all these plans to flood our country with migrants, to allow, like you said, bail reform, to allow criminals to do whatever they want, because there's a system that they want to implement that's way worse, that can be used against citizens, and that is completely unconstitutional.
So, so a couple of things. Like, one, I think that, is there evil in the world? Is the devil's hand in the world? I absolutely think so. And I think that there are evil individuals with horrible ideas at play. But I also think, I agree with the statement, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I've watched people come up with ideas that are great ideas on the surface, and it's going to make things better. It's going to make things easier. Right. And there's no forethought about where that leads in the future. Maybe it may be, Palantir on its face is the gathering of information, right? And putting it all into a central database, right? So I can follow all the cameras. I know where John is. On its face, you're like, we have the technology. Why wouldn't we do that? Mm-hmm. And Palantir, obviously, they're a corporation. What's their main goal? Make money, right? Their main goal is to make money. And so what are they going to do? They're going to keep expanding that network, bringing more stuff in. But it's our job as citizens to make sure that our politicians aren't being beholden to a private corporation, and ensuring that, in fact, that the technology that's available to them is consistent with the law, right? And it's also to the fact that they have the forethought to stop this. And what we're seeing is the lobbyists have more say in our government and what our freedoms will have than our own people. And again, it goes back to, most people don't understand these things. Like full disclosure, I'm invested into Palantir. Like, full disclosure, like I see at the face of it being a good idea. I'm investing into drones. I see at the face of it, it's a good idea. I'm investing in security system on the face of it, but it has to be limited. And when our government's in bed with a corporation, that should be a huge red flag for all of us. And regardless, I don't care if they have nefarious intentions or not. They should be held solely accountable to the law. And everything they should do should be a benefit of we the people, not their profit, and not the politicians that they bought out.
For sure.
I definitely agree with that. It doesn't matter if they have like nefarious, like Crystal and I were at the beach yesterday, and I see all the cameras and stuff. The problem is not the cameras. We don't have no privacy in public. It's not the cameras itself. It's what the data they're collecting and how they can use it for like biometric ID or social credit score or that type of profiling. So that's the problem. And the question is, if we have a society who doesn't know to hold them like what you're saying, and the politicians are obviously sold out like what you're saying, this leads to that trap, right? It's got like, if you're trying to trap an animal, you chase the animal into the desired goal that you want it to go. That's what's happening. I see you're giving a little leeway to these companies, and you don't see a linear fashion of we keep moving the flag post forward into the same direction that we've been speaking about together for 3 years, brother?
Well, again, so like, I don't know the intentions. I don't know the true intentions, and I don't care the true intentions. Like I said, the intention could be just and moral, and the intention could be nefarious. But if it's not stopped, they're going to end up in the same place. So to me, I'm not even concerned with it. I'm not concerned if you're a bad dude or you're a good dude. It's not on my radar to care. What's on my radar to care is, here's the line that you can't go past, and let's hold you to that line. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm trying to say, because you could have a nefarious corporation, or it could be me. I could be like, oh, I love John. John's a great guy, and I come up with this idea, and you're like, wait a minute, time out. How does that coincide with the Constitution of the United States of America? How does that coincide with individual freedoms? This could be used to build this biometric system and to stop us. Oh no, John, you can't ride the train. Sorry, you didn't take the COVID-19 shot. Sorry, you can't ride the train. You can't come into Madison Square Garden. You can't do here. Oh, John tweeted something bad about me one time. He can't do that. That's where and that could happen whether there's nefarious intentions or whether there's good intentions. And what we're seeing is the left and the right, they have no idea. They're both moving in the same direction.
For
They're
sure.
both moving in the same direction. There's,
Wow.
I think Ronald Reagan said it best. There's up or down. Where they're both moving down. They're both moving further away from the Constitution of the United States of America. They're both moving further away from the founding of this nation and individual freedom, and into this more corporate Marxist communist state where government, where there's elites and then there's us not working for us. And it's supposed to be the other way around. They're supposed to be working for us.
Yeah. I want to peel back a layer of the onion here with Palantir, though. Palantir is owned by Alex Karp and Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel is a gay, basically antichrist figure, right? He's very much a demonic person. And Alex Karp is a Jew. And Palantir is very much a system that the Jews will use to go for anti-Semitism. Before we hopped on here, we were talking about these anti-Semitism bills that are being pushed and whatnot. This is a part of that system. If you want to talk about lobbyists, we talk about AIPAC. AIPAC is controlling our country right now. There's very much a world Jewry aspect to the things that are going on right now. Palantir is one of the weapons that they will use against the people that stand against that call that out, because they've already used it in Gaza. So there's, I think it's called Project Lavender. Project Lavender is the system that they've used to just basically catch just regular Palestinian people and say that they're Hamas, they're this, they're that. Now, this system is being used in Gaza already. If this system comes to America, they could say Anthony Graffeo is an anti-Semite because he said AIPAC is controlling our country. And then they could go and shut off my money. They could go arrest me. They could do whatever they want, especially if they push these laws and these bills through. So Palantir is 100% a part of this world Jewry weapon against us in this Bolshevik Revolution Part 2 that's happening in America. Like, the first thing that they did, I said before, is they made anti-Semitism illegal by punish of death, okay? These things are slowly happening in our country. We're watching our country be funded by Israel, okay? Now, we're talking about the bail reform thing. I want to pull up something real fast because I want to hear your thoughts on it. You guys continue to talk, but I'm going to pull this up real fast.
Good, John.
So again, just, like when we get into they or the Jews, like it starts to lose me, because I understand a couple of things, right? Like I understand, like I have concerns about our country and our politicians putting Israel ahead of American interests and ahead of American citizens. And do I think that relates to the Jews? No, I look at that surface level. I look at that as everyone's an individual. Same way when I don't like to talk about the cops, because I'm like, wait, time out. What do you mean? What do you mean by the cops? And so I don't know enough about Peter Thiel or Palantir to say, but again, what I said, what I'm concerned with is that they're held to the law. I don't know them morally. I don't know their stance as individuals, and never looked into them, so I really couldn't speak on it. But what I will say is that I am concerned with the misuse of a surveillance state, 100%, and I'm also concerned with politicians that put other nations' interest, any nation's interest, ahead of our own.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to pull this up. So I don't know if you heard about this story about the bust that happened in Las Vegas with a bunch of pedophiles. Did you hear about this?
Okay, is this where there was an Israeli there was like an Israeli, like a guy that's tied to Netanyahu somehow?
Yes,
and then he was
cybersecurity.
Okay.
He worked for the thing called the I think it's like the Data Dome or something. It's like basically like he basically helped like reprogram Grok, all this stuff. He's basically helping in the stop of anti-Semitism in America. But he got caught in a pedophile sting operation, and he made bail or whatever. It was a $10,000 bail, and then he left and went back to Israel. And a lot of people are saying, oh, he was able to do that because he got off on bail, this and that. The only people that are really trying to go after this is Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene. But my question is, like, wouldn't that guy be a flight risk? Like, wouldn't he not be able to get out of the country, like, even if he's on bail?
So, I mean, it depends the level of the crime. I don't know the exact charges they have. I don't know Vegas law well, but 100% he should be considered a flight risk, just the fact that he doesn't live in the country. So it sounds like there were serious charges, and in that, on the face of it, should not be eligible for bail. But again, with bail reform, I don't know Vegas's. I don't know like their like how they operate, but normally he would be held in. He would be held in prison until that time, and he 100% wouldn't. And even if he wasn't, he 100% would have his passport removed and would not be allowed to leave the country.
Yeah. So the fact that he's works for Netanyahu, he got out of the country, he's back in Israel. We haven't like extradited him back. There's basically crickets about this whole entire story. Like that's kind of a sign of like who's really in control of our country right now. You know, you got Donald Trump pulling the chair out for Netanyahu. We're selling them 600-pound bombs to go and annex all of Gaza to create the Greater Israel Project. Like, that's the lobbyists that are controlling our country right now. You know, AIPAC is paying every single one of our politicians from the left and the right. So it's not like this is a Democratic versus Republican thing. This is a uni-party thing. Israel is controlling our country. We're allowing pedophiles that are being arrested in sting operations to leave our country, to go back to their country, where, I don't know if you know this, but there's a law basically in Israel that if you're a pedophile and you get caught in another country, you get sent, you go back to Israel, you're good. You're off scot-free. So this guy just got off scot-free for being a pedo.
Yeah, I mean, well, they have, from what I heard, is you can't extradite from Israel. So I don't know how true that is, meaning that if you're wanted in America, they won't get you. So I mean, it's absolutely disgusting.
Wow.
Do I say that that's the sign that they control everything, or they just control some people that are in charge and that was supposed to hold him? You know, again, I don't know, but I see a concerned effort from both the right and the left to put Israel's interests ahead of America's. I do. And I've heard it from Ted Cruz. I've heard it from Richie Torres. I've heard the same thing. I'm going to be Israel's greatest defender. I'm like, great. Go move to Israel and be a congressman there. We elected you to stand up for this country. And again, like, I don't know, like, I'm not into international politics. I'm just not. I don't pay attention to it much. But anytime I hear anyone sit there and tell me that we have to bless Israel because it told me in the Bible, I mean, that raises a red flag in my eyes, and then that makes the hair on the back of my head stand up as a Catholic and as a Christian, because I know that not to be true. I know that when God was speaking about the blessing the people of Israel, he was talking about the church, his own church that Jesus founded.
Amen.
So he's talking about us. We're the church of Israel. So, when I hear a congressman, an elected politician, or anyone try to pervert that to make that mean that we need to support the actual government of Israel today, I mean, it's such a stretch, and it puts me in a defensive mode, and it makes me open my eyes a little wider.
For sure.
I think that that goes into these bills that were passed federally, and you're saying even in your own state of Florida, the anti-Semitism bills. What ramifications does that have for Christians, specifically the New Testament, in these bills that were passed?
So a couple of things. So what's happening across the country? Democrat controlled, Republican controlled. What's happening is you're seeing a concerned effort for all these politicians, mayors, governors, city councils. They're adopting this bill that adopts the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism. One, it's a problem because it circumvents how laws are made in this country, right? That when they write the bill, all the bill says is that they're going to adopt the IHRA's definition of anti-Semitism, but it never spells out what that definition is. So meaning that at any time, at any place, this private international organization could just change on their website what the definition of anti-Semitism is, and then it becomes that definition. So it circumvents how laws are made in this country. So that on its face, I have a huge problem with, because I'm saying, why are we giving the ability to anyone to, at their whim, tell me what's legal and what's not legal?
Exactly.
So, I did some research into it, and I looked into the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definitions of anti-Semitism. And I looked at it, and it says any claims that the Jews killed Jesus. Now, that is a foundational belief in Christianity. It's stated numerous times throughout the New Testament. So basically, it's saying that if you're a Christian, if you're a Bible-reading, God-fearing follower of Christ, you're anti-Semitic. Because in the Bible, you were told that the Jews killed Jesus, which in fact, they did. They used Pontius Pilate, and they picked Jesus over the thief, right? They picked Jesus to be crucified over the thief. So when I look at that, I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm saying, where's Christianity on its face? Where are the actual Christians, the men, to stand up and say, wait, time out. I don't support anti-Semitism. I don't support racism. I don't support anti-gay shit and all this other stuff. I'm not. You do what you want. Just don't put it on me and my family and tell me how I have to live and how me and my kids have to live. You do whatever you like. You believe in whatever God you like. Don't pull your nonsense onto me. But what I'm watching is Christian men coming out and pushing other people's nonsense onto me. Right? Where's the Catholic Church to stand up for this? Where's the Pope to stand up for this? Where are our elected Christian leaders to stand up for this, to say, wait a minute, time out. You're outlawing the New Testament. And, I've been speaking out about this for a while now, and I've pushed back at a lot of these congressmen. And what they say to me is, oh, well, Trump supports it. And I'm like, well, I don't really care that he supports it. I mean, because
Back it up,
the
guys.
bottom line,
It's
it's outlawing my belief and telling me that I'm an anti-Semite because I believe in the Bible and I'm a follower of Christ.
Yes, and that's exactly what they want to do. That's like written in the holy books, that they will take us over. They believe that we are what is called goyim, and we're made of cattle parts. And there's a specific, the Chabad Lubavitch, which is in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. There was a Rabbi Schneerson. They believed he was the Messiah. They said that the Messiah came, he was the Messiah, he'll come back. And in one of his speeches, he said that goy are made of two spirits, and the one spirit that they're made of is of a demon. And that our belief in this is that in the Talmud, they say that Jesus Christ was a drunken sorcerer and that he's burning in hell in excrement. Okay, this is in their holy books. Donald Trump, before he became president the second time, he went to this guy's tomb. He put on the tiny hat and he went to his tomb and he prayed at that tomb. If Trump is supposedly standing up for Christians, if he's a Christian man himself, why would he ever go and pray at this man's grave? It's disgusting, and from somebody that really respected Trump and believed that he would do the right thing, I'm just watching him more and more just do the opposite of what he said he was going to do. He's actually going to go to Israel very soon. I believe in December they said he's going to go to Israel. So, yeah, it's scary times we're living in.
So, again, I'm not so happy with Donald Trump's America First plan because I see a lot of it's corporations first, some of it's Israel first. I'm not opposed to Trump visiting Israel or following the traditions of other presidents. Again, a lot of things are very deep. Some things are surface level. Some people don't understand what they're doing. But I think when I look at Trump's second time around, I'm not going to lie, I'm disappointed in a lot of things he's doing. I don't know that I'm there yet 100% that like he's Israel first all the time. I've seen him act in certain aspects as Israel first. I don't know that I'm sitting there and I'm saying, oh, I wish I would have voted differently. I don't think that I'm there yet, but I understand watching this. I understand a lot of people that tell me now I'm not voting because I don't vote for a master. I kind of understand where they're coming from because a lot of the things I thought I was voting against are still happening.
For
So, and
sure.
then I understand that their mind frame better, you know, and so what but I ultimately voted for Donald Trump 3 times because he, in the last 3 elections, was the person that I believed would be held accountable to the people, and would go with the will of the people. And, you know, has some of the stuff he done, been very disappointing when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, when it comes to Eric Adams, when it comes to him like basically throwing out there that he may pardon Diddy. I mean, yeah, that raises my eyebrows and very disappointing to me.
Yeah, and I want to piggyback on what you said about its tradition, because you know what that tradition is though when they go to Israel and pray at that wall.
Yeah,
You know what
please, Anthony, break that down
I,
real
I
quick.
don't,
It's
I
just
don't.
because it's
So.
important.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
important.
So what that wall is, that's the wall where the original temple was, Solomon's temple. Okay. So what the Jews believe is that they'll make a third temple. Now, if you read the Bible, the third temple is the abomination of desolation, right? That's where the Antichrist will put his seat. So every time that these politicians go there and they pray at this wall, they're basically saying that we are giving you the promise that you will build your third temple, which an aspect is that we are giving you the promise that you will bring the Antichrist to the world. So that tradition needs to be broken completely. It's not a tradition at all. This is a demonic thing. We should not be allowing our politicians to go over there and say, okay, Jews, we're going to let you build your third temple, which means that they would start World War III first off to be able to even do that, because they'd have to get rid of the Dome of the Rock, which is like the third most holy spot in all of Islam. So if they take out that Dome of the Rock, you're talking about insane holy war. That's first off. They would have to burn the heifer. So the burning of the heifer meat, that they would take the red heifers that they have right now in Israel. They've genetically modified these red heifers. They'll burn the heifers and they'll build the third temple, which will bring in the Antichrist. The 2 witnesses from heaven will come, who I believe is Elijah and Enoch, and they'll be killed in the middle of the streets of Jerusalem. And that's when everybody will realize that the Jews will realize that they killed the Messiah and Christ will come back. So what they're trying to do is force prophecy right now. And every time that these politicians go over there, when Donald Trump goes there in December and puts his hand on that wall, he's saying, I want the Antichrist to come. I'm giving you, Israel, the proposition of saying that my whole devotion is to you building this temple. Okay. And you brought up Epstein. A lot of this has to do with Epstein, because a lot of these politicians are blackmailed by Epstein. Epstein is 100% a Mossad agent. There's just no question about it. He was connected to the Maxwells. Robert Maxwell was a Mossad agent, okay? And I've gone into deeper detail about Donald Trump's connection to these people and how he's been basically there before even Epstein was. Donald Trump's basically advisor in this life was Roy Cohn. Roy Cohn was having blackmail parties at the Plaza Hotel. He blackmailed people like J. Edgar Hoover with Louis Rosenthal, right? Louis Rosenthal was Sam Brofman, who owns Brofman's Liquor, right? The Seagram's Liquor. Basically, they were blackmailing J. Edgar Hoover with little boys in the blue suite in the Plaza Hotel. You know, Donald Trump went and bought that hotel. Why would he buy that hotel? Then he bought Adnan Khashoggi's boat. Adnan Khashoggi was a gun runner that helped with the Iran-Contra and to help the IDF that's made today. That boat was completely covered in surveillance. Donald Trump bought his boat. His cousin's boat, which was also completely covered in surveillance, same thing. Robert Maxwell bought that boat. Ghislaine Maxwell just came out. She had her conversation with Todd Blanche, and she said, I met Donald Trump through my father. Robert Maxwell is 100% like, we could like say Epstein, oh, maybe he wasn't an agent, whatever they're trying to say. Robert Maxwell is a known Mossad agent. Donald Trump was rubbing shoulders with these people from the beginning. So the fact that he's trying to push this all under the rug and try to say it's a Democratic hoax, it's not real, it's this, it's that, it's because he has connection to these people before Epstein even. And this blackmail operation has been going on for a long time, and it's kept the power. You brought up Reagan. Reagan was put in power by Roy Cohn. Donald Trump's father helped fund him to become the president. So we've had Zionist presidents on both sides of the lobby dedicating their lives and devoting their lives to Israel and building their third temple. We need to change that.
So when it relates to Epstein, you know, I'm not going to sit there and say he's a Mossad agent or he's not. I just know that We were told that there were terrible things that happened. We had thousands of hours of videotapes of terrible things that happened. There was all this evidence about it, and it was going to be released. And then it wasn't. And then we were told that, oh, it's not a big deal. You know, get over it. You're not MAGA if you care about it. Then we were told, all right, you know what it is? A lot of good people would go down if we release some of this stuff. And so on the face of it, when I look at it like that, I say, okay, either you're a pedophile or you're covering up for some pedophiles. It's one or the
Right.
other, and it's wrong to me. And you know, so I like, again, like I take things like very surface level, and to me, it's disgusting, and it should be rectified right away. I'm not for this government or these police forces or anyone saying, oh, this is classified and you're not entitled to it. It's like, no, I pay you a salary, you work for me. I am entitled to it, and I want to say it. You don't get to decide what's classified and what's not classified because maybe you don't want to hurt some good people. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that's not transparency. That's not a government that's accountable to its people. You know, so like when I look at that, I mean, highly disappointed in that. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't someone that really followed it much. I didn't listen to Dan Bongino. I didn't listen to Kash Patel. But to watch how they built their platform surrounding this case of Epstein, and then watch them completely turn, absolutely disgusting to me.
Yeah.
I will say that it is a good position to take. Just take things to the surface. That's kind of like, for me personally, what I did with Trump. I didn't have I see the TDS. We fought it for years, right? We just watch these people just like melt. And then you have the worship part, and we are all experiencing that now, because if you take things for face value, step by step, the events that are happening, and you even talk against him, both you men have gotten wild backlash, right? And this is a problem because now we're playing on a team. We're playing on a team. We're not looking at the facts. So I see why you take the position of taking it on the surface. With everything happening with Trump, you've been a major MAGA supporter and stuff. You've said that publicly a lot of times. What has changed? What has happened in the 7 months that he's been in? Where did you start to see the turn in his administration?
I think almost immediately, but I think the first thing that stuck out to me is when Netanyahu started going and bombing foreign countries, and then was basically pleading with the United States to follow suit, and we did. And I'll be honest with you, if I would have just woke up one morning and Donald Trump said, hey, we sent planes over here and we bombed, I probably wouldn't have thought much into it. But watching what happened, because again, I don't really get involved in international politics. I deal with enough like New York City, Florida politics on my own. I could only expand my brain so far. But like watching Israel going first, and then I'll basically follow suit. It honestly, that's when I think like a lot of MAGA supporters was like, wait, time out. I thought we were anti-war here. I thought we were ending war on day one. I thought the Ukraine-Russia war was going to be over. I thought that we were going to bring our standing back into the world. I didn't think we were going to get us involved into another war. Not that he has at this moment in time, but I mean, sort of looks like we are in one right now, another one, you know? And so I think that was the first fracture. I think another thing when you look at like, oh, we're going to reinstate all the members of the military who refused the COVID vaccine. I think that was another thing that I'm watching, that I think a lot of MAGA people, I thought, you know, people would be reinstated and compensated. And when you look at that, they're like, oh, well, some of these guys voluntarily left. And it's like, no, you said you were going to terminate them, or they had to take the shot. They chose to protect what they had. That was an ultimatum. They would have never left if not for that. Those people should be reinstated and compensated. And so then there was that. And now when you talk about anything that's happening on the streets when it relates to crime, I mean, there's a lot of people that are very nuanced in the MAGA movement, and that, you know, they're like, wait, what's the long term on this? What's the plan? How effective is it going to be? Is it a short term plan? Are you planning on doing this long term? What does that look like? Because right now, I just see it as a media campaign. It's just a rah, rah, rah. Look what we're doing. We saved DC. It's 2 months later, you're going to go there. Shootings are going to go right back up. Carjackings are going to go right back up. And you're not going to see all the people on the news saying, I feel so safe, you know? Or is that your long-term plan? And if so, I understand DC is a different animal and they legally could do that. What precedent are you doing that in New York, Chicago, LA, and all
Right.
these other cities? Because I haven't
Yeah.
heard that from anybody, and
Yeah.
I would like to know what you're planning on doing with that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that we're going to see another version of the Iran situation come up also. I mean, Netanyahu is basically saying to U.S. Congress that they want another bombing campaign on Iran because what they want to do is create the Greater Israel Project. They believe that the whole entire landscape is promised to them by God from 3,000 years ago. That's their whole entire thing. And like you said, Trump said no more wars, this and that. He's over there flying B-2 bombers, bombing mountain bases. Like, it's hard to penetrate those bases. And he didn't really even do anything. Like, if you actually do, and I know it's hard to really pay attention to geopolitics, but you'll actually find out what happens in American politics by what happens in geopolitics, because that's what's really controlling the entire arm of America right now, is the geopolitics side of it. And they're going to go back into Iran. Is that going to be a ground war with America? I don't know. But this time around, when it does happen, it's going to be a lot worse, you know, because Israel last time, excuse my language, but they were getting their shit kicked in. They were getting their asses beat. They were getting bombed every day. And Iran was only using their stockpiles. They weren't even using their new toys yet. And they were every, you know, you talk about the Iron Dome is able to catch every missile. They were destroying the Iron Dome. It actually came out that we're going to be giving, I think, $3.4 billion of our stockpile to go and reload Israel. It just came out the other day about this. So this thing is already cooking up. And what Trump does the next time is going to be his whole entire legacy. If he goes and he falls and he becomes another George Bush and gets gaslit by Netanyahu to say that there's WMDs, there's nukes, there's whatever, then he has completely thrown his legacy out the window, in my opinion. I think he already has, to be real with you. I know you're still kind of on the fence about it, but there's so many different things that he's done that I'm just like, I can't agree with any of it, you know? It just came out the other day. He wants to bring 600,000 Chinese students to America. Like, what are we doing? I thought we're America first. 600,000 American kids could go to college and rise up and do something right. Well, I thought we're taking down these colleges.
The right-wing talking point of, like, it could have been the veterans' kids. You know what I mean? Like, let's just use the same talking points that we use on Biden. Let's use on Trump. You're 100% right.
Yeah, it's like all these things that he's doing is not America first. And if he goes and he does a bombing campaign with Israel and Iran, Russia's going to get involved. China's going to get involved. These guys are all allies. So you're talking about the Ukraine-Russia situation. That whole peace talk is going to fall apart. Because if Iran really and America and Israel go into war, this time other players are getting involved. Like, especially if you're talking about they're going to start, I don't know, maybe nuking Iran. If they nuke Iran, it's already known that Pakistan is going to drop a nuke on Israel. So you're talking about a nuclear war here. Like, and Trump cannot get as involved with this. He needs to create some sort of control with Israel, because Israel has him on a leash right now. Whether you want to believe that or not, that's cool. But Israel has him on a leash right now. He needs to put the leash on Netanyahu. Everything Netanyahu wants done is being done. And America's just allowing it to happen. Our Congress is allowing 600-pound bombs to be sold to Israel to go blow up kids in Gaza. Like, this is happening. You know, I wish it didn't happen, because I really did have a lot of hope for Trump to do the right thing. But man, it's just what it is. You can't just be like, this isn't happening. I'm gonna put on the rose-colored glasses, la 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 la. Because this second time around, it's going to be dirty. Like, they're really going to go at it this time. Because that whole entire Iran-Israel situation the first time was child's play, in my opinion.
No, I agree with you. And like I said, I think that was the first time I spoke out about President Trump's administration. I mean, I had spoke out about his civil rights DOJ. I didn't think they were really getting involved when it related to COVID. They're not really trying to pull back the mandates. They're not trying to pull back any of that stuff. They're not trying to basically help out all the people that were harmed, that the businesses. They're basically just turning a blind eye to everybody, you know. And again, I think going after free speech. So that was the first time I spoke out, because I said I thought we were the world's leader. Why are we following suit with another country? And the backlash I got from that, I was like, whoa. I was like, oh, you know how we say that the left's a cult?
Yeah,
you guys were in
the
a
woke
cult.
right, like you said, the woke right, bro.
I literally had people texting me, you don't ever talk, you don't ever put his name in your mouth, blah, 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 blah. Stay in your lane, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, wait. isn't your whole platform built around bashing Biden for the last 4 years? So I can't hold my president accountable. I can't. Now he's the commander in chief, and I need to put his picture up above my head and bow to it every night. I'm like, I don't believe in that. I believe that we need to hold our politicians solely accountable. I think that everything that I'm watching right now is a huge setup, and I think it's terrible because I don't see anything that has a long-lasting plan. Everything's being done by executive orders, and then what? Like, oh, we're for the military state, and what I said is like, oh, we're gonna bring in, federalize all the police departments. What are you gonna do when AOC's your president?
That's right, bro.
What are you
Great
going to do
point. I
then?
heard
Like,
that
what?
one.
You're going to be cheering it on? I'm not going to be, so I'm
That's
not
such a
cheering it on
powerful
now. I'm
point,
like,
bro.
I'm looking for long-term common sense solutions, and I'm not seeing any out of it. That's that,
Yeah.
and that's where I'm at right now. I'm not seeing long-term, and even including internationally, because that was one of his promises. We're not for more war, and it's like could have fooled
America
me.
first.
Look
Yeah.
like that to
The
me.
whole America first premise. We speak about the First Amendment and freedom of speech, guys. And yesterday he passed a EO saying that he will give 1 year in jail if you burn an American flag. Now there are some fine writing saying that in a case of a riot, I can actually pull it up. Let me just pull that up real quick. You guys see it now?
Yes.
All right. So I'm just going to read this real quick. Section 1, purpose. Our great American flag is the most sacred and cherished symbol of the United States of America and the American freedom, identity, and strength. Over nearly 2.5 centuries, many thousands, I'm far from the screen. Many thousands of American patriots have fought, bled, and died to keep the stars and stripes waving proudly. The American flag is a special symbol in our national life, and that should unite and represent all Americans of every background and walk of life. Desecrating is uniquely offensive and provocative. It is a statement of contempt, hostility, and violence against our nation, the clearest possible expression of opposition to the political union that preserves our rights, liberty, and security. Burning this representation of America may incite violence and riot. May incite, let's put a pin in that. American flag burning is also used by groups of foreign nationals as calculated act of intimidate and threaten violence against Americans because of their nationality, place of birth. There's a specific place that I want to read, which is right here. Notwithstanding the Supreme Court's ruling on the First Amendment protections, the court has never held the American flag desecration conducted in a manner that is likely to incite imminent lawless action, or that is an action amounting to the fighting words, is constitutionally protected. See Texas v. Johnson. Now, that's the part that I want to hone in on, because I feel like we're kind of doing with like the what is it, Pennsylvania versus Mims? We're kind of leaving it in the discretion. We're leaving our First Amendment once again in the discretion of the federal government. John, what's your take on this, EO?
So one, only flag I fly in front of my house is American flag. I think that it's completely disrespectful to burn an American flag. I think it's disgusting. I think it really is a slap in the face to our forefathers, to my family that served overseas and fought for this country. I think it's a slap in the face to every single one of us that lives under this flag. With that being said, the beauty of this country, and there's a lot of ugly things that make up the beauty of this country, and one of those is freedom of speech, and because it's not my opinion that counts, right? It's not your opinion that counts. Not what I think is disgusting that counts. So I do think that this is an attack on First Amendment speech, and as much as I don't support burning of flags, and I do think there are times when you do that you could be arrested. Let's say you light a fire in a public place and you cause a danger, you could be arrested, not necessarily for burning the flag, or you take the flag off my house, you stole my property, you're getting arrested. You damage something, a flag on my house or my car, you could be arrested. You could already be arrested for those times. Yeah. So I support those actions, by the way, and I support if you burn a flag and you endanger other people, yeah, you should be arrested. But the act of burning a flag itself, making it criminal, I never supported it. I didn't support it when people were being arrested for desecrating an LGBTQ flag. I don't support it now. I think that freedom of speech matters. It matters that we're all able to express our opinions. It matters that whether I agree with you or don't agree with you, you have the right to say what you want to say. And that's what makes this country completely different from every other nation on this earth, is that we protect that, even those disgusting acts that we don't agree with and those disgusting statements that the majority of us don't agree with. But again, some of that, how easily that could be turned, because it was a disgusting statement for me, and I was a domestic terrorist for saying, hey, I already have antibodies. Why do I have to put this in my body to get more antibodies? All of a sudden, I became a terrorist, like overnight. I became an anti-American. I wasn't a patriot anymore, you know? And so, like, you know, it's too fine of a line, and I just don't support it.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, why this bill got passed is because it actually got passed that if you burn an Israeli flag, it's a hate crime. So Trump caught a lot of flack. The Trump administration caught a lot of flack because people are like, whoa, you could burn an Israeli flag and go to jail, but if you burn an American flag, nothing happens to you. So it's kind of like this push and pull kind of thing where it's like people are calling him out for his connection to Israel and whatnot. And then he's like, okay, well, I have to give them something that's going to be like, I am America first, you know? So they said that if you burn an Israeli flag, it's known as a hate crime because it's Jewish.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's
Is
the
that in the?
same thing with the LGBTQ flag. They label it a hate crime. And that's another thing. I don't support hate crimes at all. I think that they're completely made up. I don't understand why we're charging. If Fuzz hits me in the head with a bat because I'm Italian and he doesn't like Italians, or he doesn't like bald guys, or whatever it is, what makes it any difference if he just comes out and cracks me in the head with a bat? Charge the crime appropriately, and that's it. We don't need to add these little, this is a hate crime, this isn't a hate crime.
Yeah.
It's a joke. You know, it's an absolute joke. Like, no, it's like now, if you want to know the determining factor of it, and could we track that? Yeah, but it shouldn't add an additional charge, because at the end of the day, the crime's the crime.
Exactly. And they're trying to tie it to terrorism. You know, that's what they're really trying to do. Is like, that's why it said like these people from other countries are doing it in a sign of rebellion or whatever. It's like, even if an American burns an American flag, I don't agree with it, but that is their First Amendment right to do so. Their right to protest, their right to free speech. Do I agree with it? No, I don't think people should be burning American flags, because the same thing that you just said. You know, we should respect our country. Do I think our country's in a bad place right now? Do I think we're watching the fall of Rome happen in real time? Yeah, I do. But I still love my country.
So there was a 20-year combat veteran in front of the White House earlier, and he burnt a flag. And he was arrested because of it. And he didn't burn the flag because he hates America. He burned the flag to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. And he said, this is an attack on our First Amendment speech. And I got to say, I agree with him. You know, like, you know, if he was endangering somebody with, you know, with the flames, or he did something that desecrated the ground that it was on, I understand it. Then, you damage property, people have to come in and clean that up. But just the burning of the flag on itself, as disgusting as it is, it's to do that, it's not well thought out. And again, people are cheering it on, and I'm like, I don't think you understand what you're cheering on. Just because you agree with it today doesn't mean you're going to agree with it tomorrow. You know, so like that sets precedent for what the next laws are, you know, and so I don't support it at all.
My question is this for you. What is your line in the sand where you believe that we are actually going to be in a police state? Like, because right now we're watching it happen in slow time, but what do you think is like the red flag that's like, okay, we need to really start worrying here that the government is doing a hostile takeover over American citizens?
Again, like if you're an average American and you just go about your day, you don't commit any crimes that are on the books, right? You're not living outside of the norms in this society. You're just a guy or girl. You go to work every day. You go into school. If for some portion of your day you have to stop or adhere to government for something that's nonsensical to keep you safe, I think that's the portion when you got to start to say, maybe we live in a police state. I mean, we live in a quasi-police state now, right? Like when you want to travel, you want to get on a plane, you know, we gave up those freedoms after 9/11, a lot of those things, you know. But I think like when they started to push during COVID that like, oh, you can't come into this restaurant, you can't travel, you can't eat, you can't work, you can't play. And who did we go after? We didn't go after China. We didn't go after China for unleashing that. We didn't go after the Americans that worked with China to create that. We didn't go after anybody. Who paid for that? I paid for it. You paid for it. You paid for it. Our children paid for it.
We the
Kids that
people,
were in
bro.
school paid
We
for
the
it.
people paid for it.
Americans paid for that.
That's right.
And to me, that was the beginning of what I saw to be the start of a police state, like a legitimate totalitarian police state. And I saw both the right and the left cheer it on, and it was absolutely disgusting to me. Until today, we don't talk about what happened. We don't talk about any of this stuff. We don't talk about it.
You know, brother, it's been really weird to see, you know, standing with the medical freedom movement locally in New York City, and there's a lot of right wing. The beautiful thing about the New York City freedom movement was that there was all types of different walks of life, you know, teachers, doctors, nurses, all types of walks of life. I know you're in the network as well, brother. Great people, right? Great people. And standing with them and those brave moments, even though we didn't know what we were doing when we were standing up in the stores and the protests and stuff, we had no playbook. But I remember the heart of these New Yorkers, and to see some of them kind of fall back into cheering on a police state, martial law, even if it's temporary. They fought the lockdowns in New York City, but now they're okay with this lockdown. We've spoke, you've seen it too. What is your take on that, just broadly in America, just watching these people that would be against tyranny from the left, but okay with it from tyranny in the right?
There's a lot of tribalism in this country right now. I think we're the most tribalistic we've ever been. You know, growing up, I didn't know if my teacher was a Democrat or Republican. I had no idea. I didn't know what they believed. I didn't know who they slept with. I didn't know what they did. I just knew that they were an American like me, right? And today, there's this tribalist mentality that the minute you're in a group, you have to rubber stamp everything that group does. The minute you support a politician, you can never back off, even if it goes against everything you claim to be true. You have to support that politician like they're Jesus Christ. And I think as Americans, we're really failing our children. We're failing our faith as Catholics to do that, to worship at the altar of government, whatever it is, whether it's Donald Trump, whether it's your local congressman, whether it's your local senator. We're flawed. There was only one perfect person ever. His name's Jesus Christ. We crucified him already. So we see what we did to perfect people in this world. There hasn't been anybody that's perfect since. Everybody is fallible. Everybody is flawed, including all three of us sitting here today. We're fallible and flawed, and we're supposed to hold our elected representatives accountable and make sure they're actually representing us. You know, the thing with both the left and the right, what they don't understand is, you know, we've been friends for a while. I talk to both politicians on the left and the right, and I talk to them respectfully. I don't come out of my face. I don't threaten them. I ask questions that I want to know the answers to. And by doing that, I've been told time and time again how disrespectful I am. Like, oh, I should adhere to the throne. I should never ask a question or never challenge my elected representatives about anything they're doing or what they are. And I'm like, that's not America. That's communism. That's Stalin's Russia. That's Lenin's Russia. That's not an American thought. An American thought is we are allowed to interact, and you will answer the questions that I'm asking. And if you're not, we're going to get you out of here. And what we're seeing is really the country split in two and divide further into this tribalistic mindset. Oh, you're not MAGA. You want to know what happened to Israel? All right, well, then I guess I'm not MAGA. You know, oh, you want to know? Oh, you want me to do? You want my civil rights department to look into the stuff in New York City, but I have interest in New York City? You're not MAGA. Okay, then I'm not MAGA, but you're not doing what you said you were doing. And that's what I think. I think people have to start really understanding how communism takes hold and how totalitarianism takes hold in countries, and understand that if you're all in on the right or you're all in on the left, you're all in for totalitarianism.
Right, bro.
You're all
Wow.
in. You're all in. Take my right,
Powerful, bro.
Yeah,
You're
it's
all in
true.
for it. That's
Very
it.
true.
Whatever you say is great, Donald Trump. He might think he's doing the right thing. He might. He also might be 80 and not really looking too far ahead into the future and not seeing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you should be standing up and saying, wait a minute. I was against this when Biden did it. I was against it when Obama did it. Why am I not against this now?
Yeah, I have a perfect example of that because yesterday there was a picture of Trump's hand and it was all purple, right? He's been like covering it up with makeup. He's having this vein problem or whatever. His ankles are all swollen. And I posted it, right? I'm like, oh, I guess this is why he's putting makeup on his hand. You know how many people came and attacked me? He's old, he's 80, he's this, he's that. I was like, well, we use the same excuses for Biden. We called out Biden, we called him an old man, he wears diapers, he does this, he does that. If Trump's veins are bursting in his hands, he's obviously at that point where he's old, right? Why are we having these old people that really, I mean, he's still quick. I'm not going to say he's not Biden at all, but he's obviously deteriorating in real time, you know? And just to even point that out, I'm attacked. Oh, your traction must be down. Oh, you're a hater. You have TDS. You have I'm like, dude, I'm just pointing out that the guy's having a serious problem right now that we should, as Americans, care about because JD Vance is next up and whatever, you know, not to bring the Palantir thing back up, but JD Vance was put in there by Palantir. They want him in there. Peter Thiel paid for his college to get to where he is. So the technocracy and all this stuff is coming no matter what. And if Trump is deteriorating, and I'm praying that he does make it through the 4 years, and hopefully he turns things around, and maybe he's just playing 5D chess, as some of these people say. But JD Vance is going to be something horrible for us. And if we don't say, oh, Trump is, you know, he's getting old, we need to start thinking about what comes next, you know, because a lot of these people in their minds, they think Trump's a superhero. They think he's like some jacked, tan guy that's like some Chad. And really, he's an 80-year-old wearing makeup. You know what I mean? No disrespect, but it's just what it is.
Yeah, like I said, it's just pure tribalism. You got to be all in, dude. Like, you know, like I often criticize the leadership of the NYPD, right? I call them the appointed management because that's what they are. They're politically appointed managers. And some cops will take that as I'm anti-police. And I'm like, I'm not anti-you.
Right.
I'm actually standing up for you. I'm actually making sure they don't put you in a bad situation. I'm letting the public know who's to blame. And because you're not allowed to give a nuanced opinion or nuanced criticism. And it's really sad to watch people sit there and wave the American flag and sit there and put their heart and sing the national anthem and say all these things. And then like, you're like, oh, but if I adhere to the founding of this nation, if I stand up, if this truly is the home of the brave, your words can't kill me. Your questions can't kill me, dude. You could say John's nuts, John's this, but they can't get me. This is the home, you know, and what we become is like, we're not the home of the brave. We're the home of the compliant. We're the home of the comfortable. We're the home of the soft. You know what I mean? And the minute the brave people stand up, they're thrown out of the system. And it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, you know, and that's what we're continuing to watch. And so I think like what podcasts are doing and what people that are brave, like men like yourself, speaking up, I think that it's important to have these conversations to the forefront, the conversations that rattle the cage, the conversation that like, oh, hey, that's crazy. You know, Anthony's nuts. Anthony's a conspiracy theorist. Okay, let's talk to Anthony, see what he's got to say. But today in this country, I have Anthony on the podcast. That's it. I'm a left-wing nut, or I'm a right-wing nut, or I'm a conspiracy theory. I gave him a platform, or he gave me a platform. And we really got to get away from that. We really do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. And that's why I love what you guys are doing at the Finest Unfiltered, because, you know, like you said, you have more of a zoomed in view of everything, right? You guys are looking at it on a local level. We're coming at it from a zoomed out view, but we keep going in the same direction. You know, it's like we keep going into this like linear fashion of like more control and people kind of getting groomed into the idea that maybe it's not so bad. And that's what I hope people take home today is, you know, and it's not doom, guys, for people watching. It's not doom. We have to look at the reality of the situation. If there's an end goal for us to accept some type of security that gives up our freedom, and we keep going in that direction, whether we're looking at it from John's perspective on a local step-by-step basis or a zoomed out like the Kingdom Cast is, we're kind of in lockstep at this point. We just keep moving forward, keep moving forward. Me personally, I do not think the military will be in these cities for long. I think that's the fear that they're trying to portray. But I think something will be left, and it will come at the cost of the people, because, like John said, like Anthony said, it always comes at the cost of the people. You know, there's a pandemic. It's us taking the mandates. We have to comply. It's, if there's more war, there's more taxes. Who pays for it? We pay for it. It's always at our cost. And it's weird how all these different ideologies are now kind of just being funneled in. So I think we circled the bases here. Anthony, do you have any other questions today?
No, I really just appreciate you coming on, man. We'll definitely have you on again. This is a great conversation. Like, you have this beautiful view on things. You know, I really respect what you have to say. And we really do need to have these conversations more. Like, we need the opposing thought. Like, go talk to a leftist, see what they have to say. Go talk to this right-wing Zionist. Go talk to anybody, you know, because everybody has a story and everybody has a piece of information. And I think without debate, there's no discord, you know. So when there's people that have opposing thoughts, like Fuzz said, we could kind of meet in the middle somewhere. And you're watching it happen on a local level. We're watching it happen on a geopolitical level. And there has to be a solution to it at the end of the day, you know.
Oh yeah, we had Zohran Mondani on, and you had to see the messages we were getting.
I bet.
It was insane. And I'm like, you know, I don't agree with anything the guy has to say. I don't support him at all. I personally, in my opinion, I think he's a complete phony. I don't even think he's a Marxist. I don't think he's a socialist at all. I think he's a child of a rich kid who's a good-looking kid. He speaks very well. He comes off like an actor to me. He's a politician in his truest form. But I kind of wanted to break through the noise and just interview him, like, and do it civilly. Like, I don't think there's any reason to like try to crush somebody on a podcast or like during an interview. Like, let that person tell everybody who they are, you know. And so that is like that whole thing, what's happening with him and the gaslighting around Zohran Mondani is really waking me up to the entire media as well, you know. I mean, because I again, most of the stuff that I see from Zohran Mondani, it's Eric Adams' 2021 campaign. Yeah. Oh, he's going to have government run grocery stores. I'm like, you have them. You have 6 of them. You know, I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, they're like, he's going to defund the police. I'm like, Eric Adams said he was going to defund the police. You know, and like, he actually did. He lowered the head count. We lost 14,500. We lost half the department, almost all under his term. And he's sitting there lying to you, telling you have the same amount of cops as you did 6 years ago. And it's not true at all. You know, and when I look at his whole public safety, civilians instead of police, that was Eric Adams' 2021 campaign. And when I say that, it's like, oh my God, you're a horrible person. And I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
I'm just telling you what it is. I'm just telling you the truth. You could pitchfork me all you want, but it doesn't change the fact that's what it is, you know? So you're sitting there saying you're not for socialism and screaming to elect Eric Adams, who is a socialist. So you actually are voting for socialism.
Yeah,
you nailed it, man. We gotta just touch on that real quick. You nailed it. Like, everybody's so scared of Mondami, and listen, you're a homeowner in New York still. I'm a homeowner. Yeah, 100%. And I'm seeing my neighbors have like 6 families, and you see like the Mondami thing. I'm like, these people are literally fighting so they can get free rent, right? But the truth is that it's no different than what Eric Adams did. It's literally almost identical, and you've been nailing that, bro. I mean, people are fearing something that's already been kind of rolled out a little bit, right?
No, yeah, I had him on, and I asked him if he would reinstate and compensate the people that he terminated, right? He said he's for the poor and the middle class, right? Government pulls this ridiculous edict down that's not rooted in medical field. It's not rooted in science. It's not rooted in law. Violates our civil rights. And you're telling me you're for the poor and the working class. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna. Just like Eric Adams. So I'm like,
there you go.
And people are like, he's not going to reinstate and compensate you guys. I was like, well, has Eric Adams? Like, why would I support this guy? He already said, and they both said the same thing. Eric Adams said he wouldn't reinstate and compensate us, and he's fighting it in court because he wants the ability to do it again. Zohran Mondani, word for word, said the same exact thing. We need the ability to do this again. I don't care that it violated civil rights. I don't care that it violates common sense. I don't care that it harms poor and the middle class or black and brown people who I'm telling you Black Lives Matter and I support. I don't care that we terminated all those black people. Screw them, because they're not part of my tribe. They need to get out and starve to death, you know? And so and then you point that out and it's like, I'm the bad guy. And I'm like,
Right.
am I the bad guy or are you just voting for socialism? And I'm just telling you that either side of the coin you're getting, Fox News is telling you vote for Eric Adams to save New York City. As CNN's telling you vote for Zohran Mamdani. And it doesn't matter who you vote with, because whoever you vote for, you're getting the same exact thing, just a different way the media packages it to you.
Yeah. Well, Eric Adams pledged his allegiance to Israel. He went to the synagogues and all that stuff, and he didn't do that the first time around. And that's why he's getting this push now by Fox News. Trump's signing off on him because of that, you know? Zohran Mamdani said if Netanyahu comes to New York, he's going to arrest him. I don't agree with Zohran Mamdani. I'm just saying he's the only one that during the mayor debates said that he would stay in New York, while the rest of them were like, I'm going to the Holy Land. First thing I'm doing is going to Israel. So what does that tell you, you know?
No, yeah, and I think, and that's what I say, that is the only difference between them, is that Eric Adams supports Israel, and Zohran Mamdani doesn't. And I'm like, to me, I'm like, we're voting for New York City mayor. We're not voting for like who has this is much effect on international politics.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
I don't really care what your take on
Yeah.
international politics is.
Doesn't
I
matter.
don't know much about it. I don't really give a shit if what team you support. You should be Team New York City. You should be Team America. I don't think either of them are. You know, I think they're a team myself. I think Eric Adams is team my pocket, and Zohran Mamdani's team whoever funded him. You know, and so like I don't really I could care less where you're going to go. Where you're going, you should fix the city. That's where you should be going. You should stay in your seat and take care of the city, you know? And so when I watch that, it just makes my head spin. And then, you know, when we had the mass shooting the other day in Midtown Manhattan, there was like this huge push that it was Zohran Mamdani's fault. And I'm like, wait a minute, time out. First of all, it was a Muslim cop that got killed. It was a Muslim cop that got killed, right? And Zohran Mamdani's not the mayor. And Zohran Mamdani is actually a terrible assemblyman and has not even voted on any of the bills that come up in front of assembly. So he hasn't affected anything that's occurring in the city. Eric Adams, the mayor, but yet somehow it's Zohran Mamdani's fault. And, this is going to continue to happen under him. And then since then, we've had 2 more mass shootings. And every weekend, we're having kids killed in the park, 16-year-olds shot in the head by random bullets, people pushed down on the trains, people stabbed in the subways. And I'm like sitting here and I'm going, does anyone see what's happening here? Like, and you're voting for more of this. You're voting. I support vaccine mandates. I support lockdowns. I support legal immigration. I support billions wasted to put foreigners ahead of us, right? Because again, we're told that Trump shut the border down, right? And ICE is deporting everybody. And yet Eric Adams just gave a no bid contract to the New York City Hotel Owners Association, $1 billion, $1 billion a year. Guess where it runs to? 2029, the end of Trump's presidency. Do you think the Trump organization isn't part of the New York City Hotel Owners Association?
Of course it is. Yeah, of course it is.
Let's talk about that. You said that that there may be a connection between Trump housing in Manhattan, housing migrants.
Yeah, I think so, 100%. I think there's a huge connection there. I think that when you look at who supported Bill de Blasio and now who supports Eric Adams, it's the same people, right? Same people that bash them support them. Why? It's hotel owners and developers, right? And people that are pushing for casinos. Is Trump part of that? Is Trump organization part of that? There's a lot of personal interest when it comes to New York City. And when I look at the federal takeover of D.C., and I'm sitting there and going, why wouldn't you root out the corruption in their city hall? Why wouldn't you root out the corruption in their police department? He had the ability to do that in New York because they had Eric Adams with his hand in the cookie jar. They had the police commissioner with his hand in the cookie jar. They had all of Eric Adams' confidants with their hands in the cookie jar. And now new investigations are popping up, even more. But what did Trump do? Put all those investigations on pause. He dropped the case against Eric Adams, and he gaslit everybody and told them, it was just a couple of plane upgrades when it was anything but that. It was hundreds of millions of dollars in corruption. And why'd he do that? Well, you know, I know he's got an interest in getting the Bally's Casino up. Trump organization stands to get, I think, $100 to $125 million if the Bally's Casino in the Bronx gets up, even though the people of the Bronx didn't want it. And it's highly disappointing. And so because we need to keep a corrupt mayor, we need to keep a systemically corrupt leadership at the top of the police department. And then, you know, we'll just bring in the National Guard and the feds. It's like, wait, what? Why does the NYPD getting billions of dollars then? Get rid of them then.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's crazy. I think like what you said too about Trump's interest with New York. It's very obvious. He's been doing that for a long time. You know, he's ran hotels out there. He's got Trump Plaza. He's got everything, and he definitely is involved with the casino business. So I had no idea about this housing of migrants thing. I'm gonna look deeper into that, but I wouldn't doubt it.
But when you look at New York City, when you're looking at it, just look at the amount of money that was spent here. They credit $7 billion. It's double that. It's double that. So when you take that money and you look at there was a session of joint Congress, and they brought in all of the mayors of sanctuary cities. They brought in Eric Adams. They brought in Mayor Wu of Boston. They brought in Brandon Johnson of Chicago, and they brought in the other Johnson in Denver. So it was 4 mayors, right? So I tallied up. What are those 3 mayors compared, those 3 cities, how much have they spent on the migrant crisis, right? How much have they spent on this as opposed to Eric Adams? They've spent about maybe $100 million together. Eric Adams, they're crediting. I mean, I think he says in that meeting that he spent $9 billion at that meeting.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
So, and then when you look at it, and then when I started tallying it up, I'm like, well, what about all the states, sanctuary states? So I took all the sanctuary states and I included New York State. So New York State, most of the money in migrant spending, they gave to New York City. When you add up all the sanctuary states and all the sanctuary cities in America, Eric Adams' number dwarfs every person, including when you have New York, who gave most of their money to New York City. Corruption all through no bid contracts. We don't know where any of the money went. Nobody knows anything. And I know one thing, the rich are getting rich with Eric Adams, and that's why they like him. That's why he's very well liked. It has nothing to do with his competence level. It has nothing to do with how well he's managing New York City, because he's not. But again, their New York City is not your New York City. They're not riding the subways. They're not riding the buses. They're not walking around the streets. And if they are, they're walking with a bunch of armed dudes around them. They're going to places me and you can't even get into. You know, so like that's the thing that people have to understand is like corruption is afoot. And who seeks to gain by keeping Eric Adams in office? Millionaires and billionaires, particularly developers and hotel owners. And is it going to make New York City better? No, but it might make the property cheaper for them to come in and buy up more of it. Just like us.
I would like to look at their last names. I guarantee you they probably end in Stein, Witz, and Berg.
Well, I don't know. I can't really comment on it, but like, I don't know. But it's
bet that.
But again, whoever it is, it's billionaires. It's building a city and a country for an elitist class and not for the working man. And
Yes.
and that's just what I'm seeing.
For sure.
Do you think Mandami? Last question. Do you think Mandami gets in?
I think the way it sits right now, it looks like not only do I think he gets in, it looks a lot like some people want him in. It looks like some people want him in. Because he'd be a great figure to have to make the boogeyman in New York City, to fundraise around, to do all this stuff around. So I wouldn't put it past that he wins. I mean, obviously he's up in the polls. He secured a huge victory in the Democratic nominee. Like I said, it was very obvious that he was gonna win. Everybody was downplaying him. And but again, I won't count Eric Adams out, because I won't put it past an Adams crew to just go in and stuff the ballot boxes. I just wouldn't. I really wouldn't. I mean, We've seen them steal money from the government. We've seen them shake down businesses. We've seen them do acts only criminal organizations would do. I wouldn't see if we wake up the next day and there's 81 million votes for Eric Adams in New York City and there's only 5 million registered voters. I mean, it wouldn't shock me at all. And it'd be like, oh yeah, no, everything's good. Everything's good. And then we'll all cheer and everybody will be happy.
Incredible, man. Where can for the viewers watching, where could they find you, brother? You also co-host The Finest Unfiltered, the hottest law enforcement show, guys. If you haven't seen it, they're killing it right now. Where could they find you? What are your handles?
Yeah, I use my name for everything, John D. Macari. So if you Google that or you put in Twitter or Instagram, that's where I really am up on. I have a Facebook account, but it just goes over from Instagram. And then at the Finest Unfiltered, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, whatever. So we're up on all those. And I appreciate the conversation. Nice meeting you, Ann. And,
You too, brother.
look forward to it. I watched your first conversation. Listen, I think that they're interesting conversations, and I think it's stuff that we, the people, should be talking about. I do. I think that I don't think any topics are off limits. I think if we believe in First Amendment speech, if I swore an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America, doesn't matter if I agree with you or you inflame me or you said something I disagree with or you burn a flag, we should hold true to the founding of this nation.
Amen. Beautiful.
Awesome, bro. Yo, John Macari, thank you for coming on, man. It's always a pleasure, bro. It's great building with you. We've seen a lot of progress in our, our points of view have kind of like funneled. It's so crazy, and as we're watching this world stage, it's exciting, and we need alpha men just to be speaking out, and you're doing a great job doing that. Thanks for coming on today, John.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, brother.
Kingdom Cast, episode 2, and we out.